Home with God. 27. Most human beings are focused most of the time on things that do not really matter. Speaking of the tools of creation, you have made a real point here of letting us know that death is a moment of creation. Because it is, and very few people think of it this way. If more people did, there might be a lot less sadness surrounding death. There would be no sadness at all. Not for the person departing. There would be celebration. Death is a time when people become very powerful, because who they are is magnified through the process of death itself. And that process is, again, death is the energy that propels you through the core of your being and into your next reality. We're going to get back into this business of energy alignment here that we explored before. Birth and death are moments of pure creation because they align or fine-tune the energy that is life itself, increasing the vibration of its frequency and manifesting as matter in the physical world, or decreasing the vibration and manifesting as invisible energy in the spiritual realm. It is in this way that entire universes are born. It is in this way that you were born. And now, here is the secret. The energy with which you enter birth is what matters. That is, it is what changes into matter, manifesting in the physical world. The exact opposite occurs at the moment of death. Thus you create with death by what you bring into death from the physical world, and you create with birth by what you bring into birth from the spiritual realm. Again, I've never had it explained to me like that. So many things are being made clear here. Good, because this is critical. What you bring into the experience of your death will be brought in either consciously or unconsciously, either with full awareness or with a complete lack of awareness of what you are doing. That is why the conversation we are now having is so important. The purpose of this conversation is to make you fully aware of what you are doing. You brought yourself to this conversation so that you could remind yourself of this. You are creating your reality by the vibration, by the energy that you send out. Now you can say that you've heard all of this before, but you are not acting like it. That is why you keep telling yourself this over and over. What would it look like if I were acting like it? If I really understood this and didn't need to have this conversation circle back again and again over what I think I already know, what would that look like? First, you would never entertain negative thoughts in your mind again. Second, if a negative thought did happen to slip in, you would get it out of your mind immediately. You would think of something else, deliberately. You would simply change your mind about that. Third, you would begin to not only understand who you really are, but to honor and demonstrate that. That is, you would move from what you know to what you experience as the measure of your own evolution. Fourth, you would love yourself fully, just as you are. Fifth, you would love everyone else fully, just as they are. Sixth, you would love life fully, just as it is. Seventh, you would forgive everyone, everything. 8. You would never deliberately hurt another human being again, emotionally or physically. Least of all would you ever do this in the name of God. 9th, you would never mourn the death of another again, not even for a moment. You might mourn your loss, but not their death. 10th, you would never fear or mourn your own death, not even for a moment. 11th, you would be aware that everything is vibration, everything. And so you would pay much more attention to the vibration of everything that you eat, of everything that you wear, of everything that you watch, read, or listen to, and most important, of everything that you think, say, and do. 12th, you would do whatever it takes to adjust the vibration of your own energy and the life energy that you are creating around you, if you find that it is not in resonance with the highest knowing you have about who you are, and the greatest experience of this that you can possibly imagine. Excuse me, but how does all that happen? For instance, how can I become cognizant of the vibration of a piece of clothing, or a meal listed on a menu, to say nothing of something that I'm thinking, saying, or doing? It's really quite simple. Tune in to how you feel. Now I can just see someone saying, "Boy, what a piece of new age jargon. Get in touch with your feelings." Those who see it as jargon will experience it as jargon. Those who see it as wisdom will open the door to a whole new world. Any suggestions on how to do that? It is just a matter of focus. Most human beings are focused most of the time on things that do not really matter. Yet if they were to take a few moments each day to focus on what does, they could change their whole lives. Your body is a magnificent instrument of highly sensitive energy receptors. Believe it or not, you can run your hand 6 inches over the food in a buffet line and without touching it, feel whether it is of benefit to you to eat that right now. You can do the same thing with your clothing that you are picking out of a closet to wear for the day, or that you are thinking of buying in a store. When you are with another person, if you will stop listening to what you are thinking and begin listening to what you are feeling, the quality of your communication with that person will skyrocket, as will the quality of the relationship itself. When you are confused and perplexed and looking for answers from the universe, if you will just turn off the part of you that desperately wants to figure things out and turn on the part of you that knows it has access to every answer, if you will stop trying to decide what to do and start choosing what you wish to do, to be, you will find dilemmas dissolving and solutions appearing magically right in front of your face. As for measuring the vibes of thoughts or words, there are very few people actually who cannot tell you whether they are feeling light or heavy about thinking or saying something. Most people can assess this pretty quickly. Yes, but, and here is where the screw turns, very few people ever do. At least that's my observation. Gosh knows, I certainly don't nearly enough. Then you may wish to start. Because you are right. Very few people use their intuitive and psychic abilities to go deep within themselves and get in touch with their feelings before they think or say or do something. Very few people even do it afterwards. If you did this, you would allow yourself to be satisfied with nothing less than lightness. You would have nothing to do with anything that has heavy vibes. You would seek to lighten the vibration of everything that you observe, create, experience, and express. You would call this enlightenment, and you would see amazing results in a very short period of time. The alchemy of the universe is really quite extraordinary. Your dictionaries define alchemy as an inexplicable or mysterious transmuting. And it is just that, being the process by which energy and matter are manipulated to create specific and particular manifestations in both individual and collective reality. And that brings us to the 14th remembrance. You are continually in the act of creation in life and in death. I have explained to you many times now how creation occurs. What it would be beneficial for you to understand is that it occurs continuously. That is, it never stops. Every thought, word, and deed is creative. Every vibration released from the core of your being recreates you and your entire reality anew. And you are being charged in every single moment. Your future is produced in tiny increments, not in one fell swoop or with one major decision. It is the increments to which you must pay attention. Then the major moments and monumental decisions will take care of themselves. Death and birth are the biggest acts of creation because these are the moments in the eternal life cycle when essential energy transmutes itself to produce specific manifestations in the spiritual realm at death and in the physical realm at birth. This is really getting to be an amazing discussion. First we got into perception theory and quantum physics, then superstring theory and metaphorical metaphysical cosmology, and now we're into alchemy. Phew. But you indicated that before this conversation ended, you would be talking to me in much more depth about the moment of merging or reuniting with the essence. Is it okay if I ask about that now? Of course it is. But I must tell you again that plain words are going to fail short as we try to describe the indescribable. Perhaps it would help if we created another picture within the picture now in your mind. Again with the pictures. Yes, well, as you said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now we have already established that at the center of the orange is the core, yes? Yes, I get that. Good. Now see if you can picture the core as a room or a chamber of some kind. Give it a shape and a color if that helps. Okay, I've made it a shiny, metallic, golden bronze cylindrical container. Great. Make it any shape or color that you wish. Now picture a sign on the door leading into this chamber. The sign reads, Death. And let us imagine that there is a second door leading into this chamber from its far side. This one is marked Birth. Do you have this pictured? Yes. Okay, now, the inside of the door marked death. The side that you would see behind you once you moved through the door is marked physical world. That's where I've just come from. Exactly. And on the inside of the door across the room is a sign saying spiritual realm. Do you have it? Do you have this picture? I do, yes. Repeat it to me. You don't believe me? Just to make sure. Okay. We are imagining that the chamber at the core of the upper has two doors, one on each side. The outside of the doors are marked death and birth. The inside of those same doors are marked physical world and spiritual realm. Both doors lead inward to the same chamber, the same experience, and both doors lead outward to entirely different experiences. You have it exactly. Thus you realize when you are in the chamber that you may move to either door, and opening it will find life in one form or another. There are two ways out of the core. One door leads to the physical life. One door leads to the spiritual life. I've got it. I see it. Okay. One final detail and the metaphor will be complete. I'm with you. Go ahead. Remember that previously in our analogy you were moving down a long corridor or tunnel. We call this the corridor of time. Yes. There was a mural surrounding you along the walls, floor and ceiling, remember? This mural stretches all along the corridor. I remember, yes. I'm painting it as I go. Good. Now you come to the end of the corridor to a door marked death. Let's pick up the metaphor there. Okay, what's next? I enter the chamber. Not directly. The door does not open directly into the chamber, but into a short passage that leads into the chamber. The door remains open behind you as you step into this passage. You can feel something happen to you as you move into this passage. It feels like a real passage, with the word used as a verb, not as a noun. It feels as if you are making a passage, not just in a passage. You will move through all three stages of death in this passage, and it will feel as if something is passing away. What is passing away is your sense of yourself as a physical body. It feels as if you still are someone, but your sense of self does not include a sense of having a body. What is occurring here in and during this passage is that you are being cleansed of all physical limitation, experience, or sensation. This is the first stage of death, when you realize that you are not your body, but that you are still very much alive. The door marked death is still open behind you, and you can look back through it onto the physical world. Now you move into death's second stage, and will experience awareness or confusion, or whatever you expect to experience. During this second stage, you can go back and forth through the open door to the physical world. You will not experience yourself there in any physical sense, but you will feel very much as if you are there nonetheless. Others still living with their body may also experience you there. If you believe that nothing exists or occurs after death, you will pass during death's second stage into nothingness and experience nothing at all. I have described this before. You may remain in the second stage of death as long as it pleases you to. What would make you wish to remain at the second stage? Wouldn't you want to go on? Do you even know that there is a third stage of death to go to? Each experience after death stands on its own. Whether you experience the hell of your own creation, or the heaven of your own creation, the nothingness of your own creation, or another created reality altogether, those experiences will stand alone. You will draw from them whatever remembrances there are to draw from them, and then you will move on. During this second stage, do we ever return in spirit to those loved ones who are still living with their bodies? The soul may indeed choose to return in spirit to loved ones remaining in physicality. Often the soul visits loved ones even before it leaves the body. Yes, Maggie Berry did that. Many others have done it too. My father did that. He came to me in a dream in a way that told me he was leaving. The next morning I received a call that he had died the night before. Maggie Berry was a founder and visionary of Core Matters, a transformational leadership organization in Denver, her close friend and partner in Core Matters at the time of her death. Tom Lotratonda told me this astonishing story in June 2005, 1 year following the death of his dear friend, who he knew was terminally ill. On the morning of June 23, 2004, I was in the office. Maggie and I shared. I had cancelled all my appointments. I was sitting at my desk just dazed, not knowing what to do. I wasn't sad or angry. It just felt so surreal. Maggie was in hospice and I truly wanted to be with her, but I fully understood and honored her request to not see her visitors. I had my feet up on the desk and my eyes closed and began to meditate. Suddenly I heard Maggie's voice so clearly say, "Hi, partner," a term we used with each other all the time. Suddenly a vision appeared in my mind, and there was Maggie standing in front of me, smiling. I was filled with joy at seeing her. She looked completely healthy and radiant, even though I knew she had lost all her hair and her body had been ravished by the cancer. She came over and we embraced, and then she took both my hands in hers and she said to me, "Tom, it's time for me to go. I have said goodbye to everyone but you. I wanted to save your goodbye for last." She then took me by the hand and we walked holding hands as she thanked me for everything I had ever done for her, and she told me how much she loved me, and I did the same for her. Suddenly she stopped and released my hand even though I tried to hold on. She said to me, "It's time. I have to go. I love you, partner." And she ran off. As I opened my eyes, I noticed the time on my laptop computer. It read 11:44 a.m. I was unsure of what had just happened, so I walked outside to get a breath of fresh air. I had been keeping my cell phone with me, waiting for any news from Butch, Maggie's husband. However, I failed to take it with me just then. After about 5 minutes, I returned and noticed I had a message. It was from Butch, and the call was recorded on my phone as being received at 11:45 a.m. I called Butch and he said that he had a real strong feeling that I needed to be there at the hospice. I told Butch I would come immediately and he said to hurry that she might not make it much longer. When I arrived, Butch greeted me and took me into the room. Maggie was still alive, but incoherent. She lived about another hour before she took her last breath. It was the most sacred moment of my life. After she died, I told her family that I would go back to the office and notify people. I returned to my office, called the people that I needed to call, then composed and sent out an email to the remainder of the wonderful community that she had started and that together we had built. After that was completed, I drove down to my favorite park in Denver, a place called City Park. I went down to one of the two lakes that are there and just sat, stunned and at a loss for words, and cried. Maggie had one message that she sent constantly to people in every situation. Live a life of joy. Life is meant to be joyous. I tried hard to get in touch with that message now. I calmed down a bit, and after about an hour I decided to head back to the office to see if I had any messages. As I was driving back, the traffic was extremely congested and I found myself getting more and more irritated. Already I was reverting back to fear and anger after just experiencing one of the most spiritual moments of my life. As I sat at the traffic light fuming, I glanced up and there was one of those giant-sized SUVs directly in front of me. I looked down and noticed the license plate. It was one of those personalized plates and the letters jumped out at me. The plate said, Joyous. I laughed out loud. Maggie was sending me a message loud and clear. She was telling me that she was free and happy, and she was reminding me that there is only one way to live life. She was reminding me to be joyous. I now have a replica of that license plate hanging above my door, reminding me and everyone who sees it that Maggie's life and her message to us was all about the joy of an inspired life. When Tom told me this story, I was really taken aback. I had heard of things like this before, but never actually met a person who had such an experience. So these things do happen. Oh yes, they are very real. Sometime before death, and often in the second stage of death, your soul will visit loved ones. When you are ready, you will move into the third stage of death. Now the door behind you closes, and you can see only the passage before you. This entire passage presents a much shorter distance than the distance you've just traveled through life. It took you years to get through the first corridor, but you now experience yourself racing through this one, flying forward at an incredible speed. There is a pinpoint of light at the end of this passage, with the passage itself appearing to be getting smaller and smaller. The light is warm and glowing and feels wonderfully safe and inviting. Are there pictures on the sides of this passage? No. This passage into the chamber that is the core of your being is darker, but not in a foreboding way, rather in a soft, warm and glowing way. The glow is coming from the far end of the passage. It is the light, and it is a tiny speck at first, but as you zoom through the passage it becomes larger and larger in your field of vision, until the light is all there is.